indicted, trying to blame everybody but Donald Trump himself. And what these are 5, again, absolutely funny ads that do an excellent job. Hit the like and subscribe button as I bring you all of these things. I gather them for you so you can sit back and watch them all in one go. We're going to break them down one by one, do some analysis, find some of the funniest and most insightful parts. Because again, the Lincoln Project may be conservatives, but they are excellent at one thing, if one thing only, and that is mocking Donald Trump. Let's start with the first one, because it really encapsulates the whole thing with Donald Trump saying one word.
Donald Trump, former president of the United States, has now been indicted on 4 counts.
It's count 1, conspiracy to defraud the United States. Count 2, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding. Count 3, obstruction of an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding. And count 4, conspiracy against rights.
And they've been, if you've noticed this, I've brought this up. Every time Donald Trump has been indicted or faced some kind of major consequence, they've done that thing, right? Where they just have him think, And it's a realization. I know it's just funny, but it's important. Because it is a realization from Donald Trump that he is a mere mortal like the rest of us peasants. Right? He really believed, because of his wealth, because he was like a rich white guy, he had all of this intergenerational wealth, he was given all of this stuff by his daddy and all of that, that he was above the law, and just not even just above the law, better than everybody else. And he is one of the relative few people in the world that honestly believe that, and because of his wealth and luck and all of that, lived a reality like that. But now it's different. And he can't handle it. And all he can say is, as the train of consequences comes through the tunnel and barrels into his face at record speed. But it gets worse as we follow some of his buddies flipping out even more.
This indictment is the legal equivalent of the French guillotine.
After these political war crimes have been perpetrated on him.
I don't possess any information.
Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, then they throw an indictment.
Mr. Trump is not a lawyer. He's a businessman.
And this isn't the first time you've acted like an unethical lawyer. It should be the last.
Free speech will not survive if this indictment succeeds.
It could be anybody. It could be a homeless person. You don't get to violate people's First Amendment rights, Smith.
It's like Adam Schiff with a beard.
It was just politics. It's all politics.
They're doing this to interfere in the election.
I know this doesn't count in a court of law, but do you think Trump had any idea that he was breaking the law when he was asking Mike Pence not to certify?
This indictment is frankly not worth the paper that it's printed on.
And don't you think for a second he's not going to unleash hell on all of his political enemies?
I got indicted. I said, I can't believe it. I got indicted.
Again, it's all just so transparent, right? They're clearly doing it for the audience. I really don't think any of these MAGA freaks actually believes this. Donald Trump doesn't believe it. He knows he lost. He knows he did these crimes. There might be some cultists among the regular people, of course, but I don't know if there's any cultists at these major networks. We know what they think. It's all a friggin' show, and they're going to whine and bitch and complain about it. But as we saw, when it all came down to it, Sean Hannity, you know, in his deposition testimony when his company got sued, said, did you believe what you were saying and what guests were saying on the air? And he said, not for a friggin' second. Instantly, without hesitation. When the oath was down, he told the truth. And that's really just showing how freakish all of this is. But it gets even worse as there's a specific mockery of Trump's dumbest attorney.
Most successful criminal defense lawyers never grant television interviews. Never.
Ultimately, what President Trump said is, let's go with option D. Let's just halt, let's just pause the voting and allow the state legislatures to take one last look and make a determination as to whether or not the elections were handled fairly.
That is a Trump criminal defense lawyer quoting Donald Trump committing a crime.
And then at the end, he asked Mr. Pence to pause the voting for 10 days, allow the state legislatures to weigh in, and then they could make a determination to audit or re-audit or recertify.
What I hear when you play that clip of John Lauro saying, you know, Donald Trump just said, let's go with option D. It's Donald Trump said, let's go with criminal option D.
A defense lawyer who makes a statement on behalf of their client, that is an admission.
I don't know why John Lauro chooses to talk, but he should probably stop.
At least dumbest current attorney, apparently. I don't know. I've heard some things that this guy's actually quite accomplished. It doesn't show. And I know it's a tough job being Donald Trump's lawyer, but like it's like you keep digging, you know, like the old Simpsons clip where at the end they're digging to find treasure and it's a big hole. It's like, dig up, stupid. And it's like, you can't dig yourself out of a hole, right? And it's like, not only is that this whole media tour by Trump's lawyers may violate DC court rules, but it's just so dumb. I understand not putting Trump in front of a microphone, but at this point, you shouldn't put anybody from Team Trump when it's talking about legal matters, because the case is so against you. Anytime you get in front of a camera, you are going to give Jack more ammunition, or other prosecutors in other cases, to blow your ass apart. Like, let's be real. And it gets even worse. And this one's really unique, as they make up a whole song and dance to mock Donald Trump.
Today, an indictment was unsealed.
It's here. Now, that's what I call conspiracy. Volume 3. 78 of the hottest indictment charges from your favorite superstar president. And still technically not a criminal. Like conspiracy to violate civil rights, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, obstruction of an official proceeding, and conspiracy to defraud the U.S. government.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol.
Collaborations with hot new artists like Co-Conspirator 1.
Let's have trial by combat.
And we'll throw in his bonus lyrics booklet just released. Now, Volume 3 has the best of today's court docket topping hits and all the charges from the classified documents case, including obstructing justice, making false statements, and of course, retaining classified information.
Isn't it amazing? I have a big pile of papers, except it is like highly confidential, secret. This is secret information. These are the papers.
Yeah.
See, as president, I could have been less. Now I can't, you know, but this is
now we have a problem.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Dozens of incriminating and for some insane reason recorded tracks, such as 34 felony counts of falsifying business records and a hush money scheme.
When it comes time for the financing, which will be...
Listen, what financing?
We'll have to pay you, so... No, I got... No.
Order now and get all these hits. Or order in a few weeks and we can squeeze in a couple more from an upcoming indictment in Georgia.
I just want to find 11,780 votes.
Now, that's what I call conspiracy. Volume 3. What's that? Volume 4? What? Oh, Volume 4. Guys, how many of these are there? Why don't I just record all the numbers? Because this keeps happening. Save us some time.
Basically kind of mimicking like a mixtape, if you will. It's brilliant, right? It brings it all in, and I love the kind of, you know, it's like, pretend that's being sold to a MAGA freak, and it's like, hey, you know, look, he's been indicted 78 times, and likely more to come, but he's not a criminal yet, technically, because of course we know he hasn't been proven guilty, although he has been found liable of doing heinous things to Jean Carroll. We know that, but like, it's just one of the best things I've ever seen. It's just absolutely great, that from front to back. I just think that it's so funny. It's so hilarious. And I have one more, which is sort of a bonus for you. Sort of a bonus little ad, which ties into the recent freakouts of Donald Trump, mocking this fear of Dark Brandon.
You've heard us Republicans talk about the Biden crime family. Well, here's a crime we can finally prove.
The White House is taking things that have been negatives in the past, like let's go Brandon, now it's dark Brandon. They're embracing it.
Joe Biden is stealing our joke.
A coffee mug imprinted with the dark Brandon persona.
Remember, dark Brandon came from Let's Go Brandon.
One of the most creative negative chants in the history of the world.
The worst insult that he's adopted through his presidency and make something of it.
Look, everyone knows we're the assholes. It's what Republicans do best.
Dude, that was an insult.
I don't think it's funny. And Brandon is not a compliment. That's actually a really dark joke at the expense of the American public.
Like, what does that even mean?
Right.
Exactly. What does it mean?
Nobody knows, but we're pretty sure it's treason.
Is there some sort of legal fallout from this too, maybe?
He's trying to sell this coffee mug with his face on it. Isn't that pretty much exactly what Hunter Biden and Devin Archer were doing? They were trying to sell Joe Biden.
When tyrants speak, believe them.
This election, don't vote for tyrants who print memes on coffee mugs.
It's funny because he is a dark guy. There's some darkness in his soul.
Don't let Joe Biden's black heart ruin the one joke we Republicans have. I mean, look at all this crap we bought from China. How much do you think I can get for this on eBay?
And it's just really funny. They're actually afraid of Dark Brandon. And maybe they should be afraid of Dark Brandon because he beat Trump. And I think he'll beat him again. I honestly do. You know, for a lot of people, Biden was not their first choice, but he won, and he could win again. But the point is, Dark Brandon was always just a funny little joke, made up ironically of people who were more left-wing than Biden, sort of jokingly saying Biden's doing some good things for once. It was kind of originated from Bernie-type supporters. And then everyone just ran with it, and now right-wingers are taking it seriously. But it's also insidious. Like, we should mock them, but they're doing it to paint this narrative that Biden is coming after Trump, not just candidate versus candidate. Biden wants to crush Trump again. He wants to beat him again. Like Biden has said, like, I want to beat that guy's behind again. And I don't blame him. But Biden is not coming after Trump legally. Unlike Trump, Biden has not weaponized his DOJ. He picked Merrick Garland, who a lot of people frankly feel is far too timid. But he picked Merrick Garland, seen as a moderate, who was handling cases without talking to Biden about these cases regarding his family and the Trump family. And then, critically, he picked Jack Smith, who was not even in the continent, so he's not tied into the day-to-day politics of either party. He was living in Europe. And he comes back and he makes a decision, again, independent of Biden, twice removed. And so these ads were fantastic. Every one of them. And the next time they post another batch, I'll bring it to you as well.
Special counsel Jack Smith gets key grand jury testimony from Donald Trump's former top personal aide and body man, Nick Luna, who was with Trump on January 6th and also observed Trump tearing up presidential records throughout Trump's time in office. So that pretty much just leaves Mark Meadows, Trump's former chief of staff, and a few others as the remaining witnesses for special counsel Jack Smith to put before the grand jury in Washington, D.C., investigating Donald Trump's crimes. MAGA. What does MAGA stand for? Make attorneys get attorneys. Trump's lawyer, Tim Parlatore, who also testified before the criminal grand jury in federal court in Washington, D.C. back in December of 2022. Well, he resigned this week after Donald Trump went all in on just acknowledging that he stole thousands of government records and he declassified them telepathically, right? He said that during that so-called CNN town hall, and that contradicted statements that Tim Parlatore made to Congress very recently in a letter to the Republican-led House Intelligence Committee, and likely also contradicted what Parlatore said to the federal grand jury. make attorneys get attorneys. Again, that's what MAGA stands for. Rudy Giuliani is the living personification of that concept. He was sued in 2 new lawsuits this week, one for sexual assault of his former assistant and one lawsuit in federal court from a grocery store worker in Staten Island who Giuliani lied about and claimed that this grocery worker assaulted him back in June 2022 when the worker actually just patted him on the back. And in a separate lawsuit, Giuliani's lawyer quit for not being paid by Giuliani. And in a separate lawsuit for defamation brought by Georgia election workers, Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, who he defamed, the federal judge ordered Rudy Giuliani to provide his full financial condition under penalty of perjury, since he claims he is now too broke to search for documents and electronic records as part of his discovery obligations. Then we go to Georgia. Make attorneys get attorneys. In Georgia, the election worker lawsuit that I just mentioned, brought by Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss against Giuliani, through that case, we also learned that through the third-party subpoena motion practice process, that one of Trump's lead lawyers in Georgia, somebody by the name of Ray Smith III, is also a target in Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis's criminal investigation into Georgia 2020 election interference in this motion filed by Ray Smith's lawyer. And guess who Ray Smith's lawyer is? Actually, a letter sent by Ray Smith's lawyer, a motion filed by Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss's lawyer. Ray Smith's lawyer is Donald Trump's former ambassador to Luxembourg. You see what's going on here. It is mentioned that Ray Smith is invoking the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination and doesn't want to testify in that case. Also, as the Fulton County Superior Court Judge Robert McBurney rejected Donald Trump's attempt to make more frivolous legal filings in court this week, challenging the special grand jury process, challenging the constitutionality of it, challenging the judge's ability to stay the judge, challenging the Fulton County District Attorney ability to stay on the case. The judge is like, enough is enough. And meanwhile, the Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis indicated that indictments against, she didn't say this specifically, but the implication was against Donald Trump and his criminal co-conspirators will likely take place somewhere in the July 31st into August timeframe. And she told judges who practice or judges who are there